Welcome back to Connect's Exhibitor Measurement Series. I'm Chloe Richardson, and in this module, we're getting to the heart of impactful measurement, your objectives. Because here's the reality. If you don't define what success looks like from the start, you won't be able to prove whether or not you achieved it. And vague ambitions like raising brand awareness or getting exposure, they're just not good enough anymore. They may sound good on paper, but it's truly impossible to measure. And if you can't measure it, you can't prove the value. You can't improve your performance, and you definitely can't justify next year's budgets. Setting clear, measurable objectives is the first and arguably most important step in proving the value. It allows you to align your team on what success actually looks like. It enables you to focus your time and energy on what matters. You can benchmark performance show after show, and most importantly, you can prove value to stakeholders. When your objectives are clear and they're tied to outcomes, you move the conversation from, was it a good event, to here's what we achieved and here's why it matters. Let me be direct. If your objective is brand awareness, I'm going to challenge you. What does that actually mean? How will you measure it? How can you prove that you've justified the spend? If your goal is to raise awareness, you need to define how. Is it driving traffic to your stand? What about a certain number of attendees at your speaker session? Maybe it's content views or post-event website engagement. You need to really determine what an objective looks like in practice, because without specificity, it's not a goal, it's just wishful thinking. And often your evidence supports what you knew anyway, but it's a fail-safe way to prove it to others. At Connect, we recommend a simple framework for objective setting. Every goal that you set should ladder up to one of the three buckets. One, marketing objectives. These might include things like capturing qualified leads or increasing brand awareness, driving engagement with a new product. Number two is sales objectives. Perhaps this is increasing pipeline. Maybe it's booking meetings with key accounts or increasing value of existing customers, or maybe even moving prospects down the funnel. And number three is strategic objectives. These are long game objectives that really support market expansion or partner growth or changing brand perception or even gaining competitive intelligence. Each of these three pillars reflects a different but equally valuable angle of event success. You might use all three or perhaps focus on just one. The key is to choosing objectives that align with your business goals and your team's responsibilities. Let's look at some examples. A marketing objective might be, we want 75% of the trade show attendees who engage with us to leave with a better understanding of our sustainability credentials. Okay. Or maybe for sales, it could look like, we aim to capture 200 warm or hot leads at the stand, with 40% qualifying as decision makers. A strategic objective example would be, we want to brief at least 15 partners and stakeholders on our upcoming roadmap. Do you see how clear all of those are? They're measurable, they're aligned, and they're stakeholder relevant, which, as you'll see soon, makes them much easier to measure after the event. Now, you've probably heard of SMART goals before: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. But I like to take it one step further and say your goals should be SMART-er, with the E standing for evaluated and the R for reviewed. Because goals that just sit in a document untouched are totally pointless. Good objectives evolve as your business does, and so you should regularly check if you're on track to hit them. Here's a real example from a medium-sized exhibitor at an energy show. The objective was to secure 5 one-to-one meetings with top-tier Middle Eastern energy firms to introduce their new carbon-neutral drilling solution with the aim of generating at least 2 post-event proposals by the end of Q2. A smarter objective. Why does it work? It's aligned to strategic business goals, it's time-bound and measurable, it sets a clear benchmark for success, those 5 meetings, and it was achieved. The exhibitor then used that data to justify increased stand size and further sponsorship opportunities the following year. Year-on-year growth, and all of these things are set using smarter objectives in advance of the exhibition. Now, here's a critical step that many teams skip. Don't set objectives in isolation. Before the event, sit down with your internal stakeholders. This could be sales, marketing, product, or leadership, and ask, what do you need to get out of this event? What would a great outcome look like to you? What would help for you to justify this investment? And then take those answers and build your objectives around what they need to see and their expectations. When you involve your stakeholders early, they're much more likely to be invested in performance. They're much more likely to help promote your presence at the show. And most importantly, they're much more likely to champion your results post-event. Because if you want their buy-in, you need to ask them what they want to see. Let's have a quick look at some pitfalls that we often see when it comes to objective setting. Now, first of all, objectives that are too vague to measure. Next, you might have too many goals with no clear priority. You may have objectives that don't link to business outcomes, or even no plan for how to evaluate or report on them later. Avoiding those pitfalls makes everything easier, from designing your stand to writing your post-show report. So what should you walk away with from this module? First of all, clear objectives are the foundation of measurement. Use the marketing, sales, and strategic framework pillars to shape your goals, and then make objectives specific, measurable, and aligned to business outcomes. And don't forget, involve your internal stakeholders early to get buy-in and then increase impact. In the next module, we'll look at exactly what to measure and why. We'll dig into ROO, remember that's return on objectives, and we'll give you the tools to track what really matters. See you in module 3.